It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and fill your mind.
Hey guys, how is it going? And welcome to the Morning Star Drive on 117.8. It is Thursday, August 29th, and so happy for you joining us. We are ready to start another day together with the Lord. So subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on SoundCloud, and make sure to support us on Patreon. So today we have an exciting podcast for you. We have Sermons in the Sky, QNA Thursday, and of course commentaries, updates, and news on what is happening around the world in this history today. All right, everyone, how are you doing? And yes, it is a wonderful and awesome Thursday. Hope you guys have enjoyed your week thus far. Hope you guys even had an amazing Wednesday service last night. Yes, not just today, but every single Thursday is question and answer. So get those questions ready. Send them to me whenever you can. And if you haven't yet, leave a like and comment. For today's video, yes, click that like button and leave a comment as communication between you and me. Now, I am super happy for every person joining us every weekday on the Morning Star Drive. So let's get up and support each other each and every day. This week's Sunday message title is Do the Mission to the End with Joy and Excitement. And what a great message and awesome Wednesday message it was too. Okay, so it's Thursday, guys, and we're getting to the end of the week. I'm not sure if you can hear it in my voice. My voice is hoarse, and I'm struggling to get sound out because it's just a lot of energy I'm putting in. What happened was, I don't know if you guys saw the Rebel Pastor podcast yesterday, but I did it yesterday, and I recorded it late night before. And the reason is, it was just been such a crazy, hectic, busy week. I had some videos in the bank, which means that for the first 3 weeks while I was here in South Korea, I was able to kind of, comfortably just kind of learn and go along and do a lot of the things that I need to do. However, the problem is last week I did my last video that I recorded, which is like 5 tips on how to read the Bible properly and stuff. And, it was like, okay, I have one more, I have no more videos left. I have to record one, and it was really late when I tried to figure out how, where I can use it at the Palm Station building. So they did agree, but they also said that I have to wait until the 9th to be able to use that studio. So I'm like, where the heck do I go? And eventually I was just like, all right, I finished a meeting. It was 8:45 p.m. and I went straight to my office. And I was like, I might as well just record there. And I did a makeshift setup. If you guys watched the last Rebel Pastor podcast, it's a makeshift setup. It's just the office that I'm using. There's these 2 circle lights, but they're very, very low. What do you call it? It's not really high power. It's very low powered lighting. So it doesn't really give me very good lighting. And I was using one of those, what do you call it? Those, it's like a selfie stick, but it's the one that's powered so that if you, take video and such, it doesn't see, you can't see the shaking and stuff on it. So I had that, I was using that the first time I've used it since I've gotten it, but it came in handy. But I for the first hour, I was just doing the setup, trying to figure out if it works, trying to work my wireless mic to the, trying to figure out if it works to the phone. There's just so many things that I just wasn't ready or prepared for. And it was so late because it was already the night before. And I felt so bad because I finally got everything done. I sent it over by, I think it was 11 p.m. And I felt so bad because the editor in Malaysia, one of the problems is I think they didn't have Wi-Fi, or the Wi-Fi was super slow. That with everything, all the stuff, it was very minimal editing too. So with the minimal editing, everything else, they didn't upload it until 4:35 a.m. Right? And we're talking about how minimal the editing is. It's so minimal that all it is the editing is so minimal that it was 2 Bible verses and 1 picture, and that's it. That's it. So I was like really like I was like, oh my gosh, I felt so bad. And I'm like praying for blessings to come upon the editors so that they receive a lot more grace and a lot more power too. And they're also going to be visiting Korea, so I can't wait to see them at that time also. But yeah, I did the Rebel Pastor podcast, and it was a crazy experience, but it was nice to actually do it so that the next time I record, I know exactly what to do. It was a very ghetto setup, so you guys can take a look at it. It wasn't very good, right? Like the way I set it up, but it was good enough for the equipment that I had, right? The lighting was terrible. The mics and the video were not that good, but I got it done. And you know what the crazier part was? With all this like craziness and hecticness that was going on, in the end, like my battery, I was so scared that it wasn't going to record because my battery was down to, what was it down to? My battery was down to like 6%. So I was like kind of sitting there like, I don't know if this is going to record fully, but thank God that it did. So yeah, you guys, if you guys have seen the Rebel Pastor podcast for this week, can you guys just let me know what you guys thought about the mics? Like, how did it sound? How was the lighting and everything else? Was it really, really that bad? Or something that if I just get a little bit more lighting, it would actually work in that office space or not? Like, very, very clean background and stuff too. So that was something I looked at. I was like, oh, that's not bad. Like, it's not a bad setup at all, right? Totally ghetto setup, like I said, but got it done. So thankful to the editors. They got it done. They are amazing. They are lifesavers, and I never want them to go through that again because of me, right? So I'm going to get the next recordings done super early, right? I don't have live capabilities right now, but I would like to do it, but then there's no tech people right next to me, but I do want to do that. Yeah, it was Tuesday evening, 11 p.m., and I was like, come on, let's just do it. I don't want to go without a video, but very, very grateful and very thankful to God that that I was inspired to do it, and I was able to get at least that done. So, yeah. So I think it's kind of like what the message says is you're never going to know until you actually put into action and you actually do it. You may think you know, oh, I just got to do this, I just got to do this, this would be pretty easy, but I think it's actually not too bad, the setup I have. So like I said, go ahead, check it out. Let me know if it was okay. And I'm hoping that, you know what? I even hope kind of that that the setup becomes good enough where the setup is good enough where I don't need to go to a studio, because the studio is pretty far, not pretty far. Well, it's pretty far. It's like 25-minute drive away. Well, actually, it's not too far, because I remember when I was in Malaysia, it was like a 40-minute drive to my studio once a week kind of thing. So 25 minutes is actually not too bad, right? But like I said, I'm grateful to the editors. 5 a.m. It was crazy, right? But very thankful, good experience for my first time in Korea. It's not going to happen again like this. And then I have a little bit more of confidence that I can get it done while I'm running here as director, the IMD director, and to be able to do this internet ministry too. And, I'm really hoping that one of the big things I want to do is not just to do like this, this external ministry, but I really hope that this YouTube channel can be something that will be able to prepare newcomers for the word, where people can reference them to it. And of course, guys, remember, this is not a direct channel. So please don't be like, oh, this is someone from my church kind of thing. It's just, oh, I like this YouTuber kind of thing. And I think that's probably the best way to do it, right? Today's going to be quite exciting because it's going to be my first time that I am going to be going to Seoul. I'm going to be driving to Seoul right after this, like a little bit later in the morning. So I am excited about this. I'm going to go to Seoul. I'll be, because it's my position, I will be meeting a foreign member over there and meeting them. Having some coffee, right? So I'm really, really excited about this. Yeah, it's interesting that I realize my busyness is not actually coming from the retreats. The retreats is not the busy thing for my position. Like all the people, like the vice directors and stuff like that, they are crazy busy during the retreats. Like they're the ones doing the schedules, taking the people around, translating, doing all these other stuff, right? For me, it's completely different because mine is more having to do with meeting and talking to leaders, and it's been I can feel the energy, not the energy, like the schedule ramping up because there is there's just too many people to meet, but slowly but surely I'm meeting more and more people, right? So even though the retreats are coming to a close, I think that it's just going to get busier and busier, right? And especially like we have Western countries coming also to Korea. And, I have even more interest in meeting them too. And of course, I really want to hear some of their testimonies. So I know not their testimonies, but the testimonies of the people that are, like Pastor Shinbeat and touring Wolmyeongdong with the new things that Sunsi wants to focus on. Like I've read a lot of them and I've listened to them, but when I'm doing this position, sometimes I'm like called away in the middle of someone testifying about the rocks or trees or something like that too. So sometimes I only heard half the testimonies, but I am very, very, very excited that people from Western countries are coming because that's kind of my role. So I'm excited about that. Someone wrote in the comments, I'm not going to say it's someone from Houston, female, a teacher, or their name starts with an R, but they're like, what is a kilometer, right? And I answered in the most diplomatic way possible because I don't want to offend the Americans because you know how Americans are very prideful, arrogant, and patriotic. They're like going to be like, oh my gosh, you're going to start like trolling me, right? So they're like, what's a kilometer? And I had to say it in the most diplomatic way. I said, a kilometer is a basic fundamental unit of measure that almost every country and human being in the world measure by. Very few countries use a foreign measuring unit. I believe it's called a mile, but I'm not certain. So that's what I did. I am enjoying I lived in the States for like 5 years, and Canada's right next to them. And of course, we're annoyed by their units of measure, miles and yards and feet, which are make no sense. And I know it's one thing that's funny about Americans and their measuring. Every scientist, every mathematician would rather use the metric system. They'd rather use centimeters, centimeters, meters, kilometers. They would rather use it because it's so much easier than the dumb mile. Yes, I said it, guys. The dumb mile. So, yeah. Oh, okay. So here's something that's very interesting that I realized about myself. Remember when I told you guys that when countries are visiting and I started to greet some countries, it was really awkward for me, but I realize now why it was awkward. And, here I am welcoming people who are coming to Wolmyeongdong. And I'm saying, oh, welcome, in the Lord's name. And I really wish that it was Sunsim greeting you and not me. It's something that I was like, why am I so uncomfortable? And I can't really say this like genuinely. And I realized the answer is because, Wolmyeongdong it's not really my home yet. Do you know what I mean? Like it's hard to welcome someone to a place where it's supposed to be your home, but you don't feel it's your home yet. Do you know what I mean? I don't know all the parts about it. I don't know all the different things. I don't, when Sunseep says, find your rock or find your tree, the one that, that kind of connects with you and pray there kind of thing. Like I haven't found that yet either. And, most of my time when I was in Korea in the past, because it was at the Lord's Church or at Whitestone Church, I was always in the city all the time, right? And I realized I haven't made Wolmyeongdong my home yet. And because it's not my home, it's really, really hard to genuinely greet someone and welcome them to Wolmyeongdong. Do you know what I mean? And I realized this and I was like, yeah, I've got to make it my home. That's my church. That's my home. This is the place that I should know, that I should have my rock and my tree and the place that I pray at and such. And once these retreats end, well, with the retreats here, the great part is we learn as much as we can. We can learn about the rocks and the paths and everything else. And the great part is once it ends, this is a time, it's like solitude, quiet time where you could just pray and be in a state where you can be together with God. So, for me, as I'm like, I need to spend some time so that I can make Woimyeongdong my home. And this is when I can truly and really greet people with that warm welcome. And I thought to myself is like, what am I going to do then until I make it my home? Like it becomes like my home. And I realized I got to be honest, meaning I have to welcome them and talk about making it their home, just like I'm trying to do right now, right? And like that would be a genuine greeting. And I hope it's something that, I think everyone's going to understand my position too, but I think it's something that we should all be doing is when we have to, the ownership thing I talked about the other day, making it your own, making it something where it truly, truly belongs to you. Another thing, because this being a director is very new, and like for me is like it was last week's message. It was unfathomable in my mind that I would be in this position, and this week especially, it's my 4th week. I realized how different this position is than I expected. And I realized like, wow, it's so different than I expected. And it's actually not a bad fit for me. It's much different than I thought, but I was like, oh, this is not bad. It's way different than and it really changed my perspective when people say things like, you got to try it and see if it fits. And I think that's something that's, we're not going to really, really understand until we actually do something, walk a mile in my shoes, whatever it is, right? And I think that's something that we have to change our perspectives on. And, a lot of times it's interesting how God will open doors for us, but sometimes we just got to try it. And once we try it, we'll have a better idea. And I'm not saying that once you try it, you're going to like it. It's more of once you try it, you're going to have a way better idea of whether this fits you or not. And like, I'll be honest with you, I thought I knew myself well enough to know whether this mission would fit me or not. But since I didn't really know the reality of this position, and it's something that I've never really understood. It's hard. I realize it's hard for me to even say this doesn't fit me or not. And on top of it, I told you this yesterday too, that one of the things is it's almost like God gave me this dread to go to Korea for the last 4 years, but it was all to protect me. Do you know what I mean? To protect me so I wouldn't get involved. I wouldn't be influenced by like KJS because I would be I'd be with her the whole time, right? So I was like really protected, and it's something where I looked at and said, yeah, this makes a lot more sense to me. And, I realized that this position is much different than I expected. Much different, meaning it's something more, is pleasantly different, and something that I looked at and I thought to myself, I was like, oh, this is something that actually does kind of fit me. I'm here in the countryside, and I told you guys this, I'm in the countryside, and I thought to myself, I would never live near Woimyeongdong. I thought I never would live here, but I'm living here, which is kind of crazy. I've been here for like a month. Like it's going to be a month coming up pretty soon. So all these unexpected things, and I think in the end, it all comes down to like the biggest thought in my head is this God's will or not? This is God's will for me, which means I can endure. This is God's will for me, so it's meaningful. So it's not just any type of like suffering. Like even though, like I'll be honest, like the countryside is not the best for me, but it is something I look at. It's like, yeah, this can work. This can really work. So it is something that I am very grateful to God that He kept me away from Korea for 4 years. And now I'm thankful. And as weird as this sounds, like Okay, guys, don't think about it too extreme, but it feels like this. It feels like, you know how the Roman Empire persecuted Christianity and like, oh, we hate you, we want to kill you. And then all of a sudden, the Roman Empire becomes Christian. And for me, it's kind of like, oh, I don't want to do this. I don't want to live in the countryside. I don't want to, I don't want this mission. I don't want to be IMD. Oh, blah, 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 blah. I don't want all this. And then I become IMD. Oh, I'm totally anti-establishment pastor. And then I become the establishment kind of thing. So I find it quite funny. Like that God has kind of led me to this point here, and it's funny. I am thankful. I am grateful for this too. But it is something that I do find very funny. I do find it funny, guys. Right? So yeah, I talked about this yesterday, and I was wondering. I wanted to get your opinion on it. I talked about this yesterday. Is how do you feel? And this might be a poll question I should put up too for next week. Is what do you feel like when you look at your churches, right, or your country? What do you feel is like the current state of providence in your country or your church? Just your personal opinion. Do you think people have lost the fire? Because that's like, a lot of times I talk to people and they're like, yeah, it's a little bit difficult. People lost the fire. Other people say that the priorities have dropped. It feels like. Meaning it was once God first and then my life second. But now it feels like it's kind of switched where your life is first and God is second. So you have to get all your life things done first and then you'll worry about God and stuff like that too. Like I've heard some people talk about like this, and I'm not going to talk about mainly just your personal opinion, but what I'm asking, not for you yourself personally, but my question to you is do you feel like that is what it's like in your church or your country? That's what I want to know in general, right? Like when I talk to just members from all over the world, not just leaders, I talk to everyone, right? So I'm a very social person. I talk to tons of people, and when I talk to them, it kind of feels like, I don't know if it's this serious, but that's why I want to know your opinion is. It makes me feel like we would understand much more clearly of how the three closest disciples to Jesus could fall asleep when Jesus was in the Garden of Gethsemane. Right? And if indeed our situation generally, maybe not you personally, but generally speaking, your churches or countries, and like I said, let me know. I think we'd have a better understanding right now that, think about right now, Sunseam is in a dire situation. How much do we feel the urgency? How much do we really understand how bad the situation is, what's going on? How fiery are our prayers? How much are we really praying? How much do we really feel it? How much have we invested in this entire situation? And that's something I think I'm wondering what you guys are thinking. And I'll definitely put it for next week's poll because we're already at the end of the week, and maybe I'll put it on for Monday for Monday. But I really want to know what you guys are thinking, right? I would really like your honest opinion on how you feel about your country or your church and what it generally feels like right now. Not you personally, because, individually we could be different, but generally just the overall mood or feeling of the church too. And I just want your honest opinion, how you feel about your church or your country and what it feels like right now. And, just overall feeling, overall mood, what does it feel like? I'm thinking, that's why in my mind is it just me? Or the people that I talk to? Maybe I'm talking to a certain type of people, but it feels like, maybe that could possibly be something that's going on, right? So, love to know. Please put in the comments. Or you can wait for next week's poll, but I think it would be quite interesting to see what people are thinking, what the situation is at the ground level from your perspective. Because I'm not going to be in your country, in your churches and stuff, right? And I just want to get a feel, right? That's something that I do think that, I would be curious to know about what your thoughts are about that too. Yeah. So yeah, those are a couple of thoughts that I have been thinking about, and like I said, I'm super excited. I am going to Seoul. It's going to be like a 3-hour drive. Well, depends on traffic too. 3 to 3.5 hour drive. I'm excited about this. I'm happy about this too, and hopefully I'll be able to enjoy some city life for about one day, and then I'll be heading back to the countryside. And I'm thinking to myself, this is actually the better way of doing it. Where I'm not going to be constantly in the city, just all the lights and cameras and all the fashion and trends and all that stuff going on in the city. Like maybe I don't really need that type of stimulation constantly, and I think that's one of the benefits of being in the countryside. Actually, there's something I did actually see today. I'm driving all the time, right? But it was so interesting because I drive a lot, and you're watching the road, but as you kind of driving, sometimes I just kind of take my eyes, not in a dangerous way. I take my eyes off to look at the mountainside or of the trees and the nature around. It is gorgeous. It really is. Like today, the sun was setting, so you have like the sun shining like over the mountain, like getting ready to set. And I see like this light kind of beaming on top of a mountain, just kind of spotlighting parts of the mountain. And after I finish my meeting on my way back, you start to see like the night view. It hasn't turned pitch black yet, but it's like this deep navy, or not even it hasn't hit navy yet, but you can still see the silhouette of the mountains and the trees. And I was just looking at that and I was like, wow, this place is amazing. It's really a place of healing, and it's really a place that you can look at it and say, like this is a place where you can meditate. This is a place where you can sit down and just really take in nature and reflect and think about all the things like you need to do you can pray. Like honestly, even here, I almost want to pray with my eyes open. In Wolmyeongdong, it's just the only hard part about that is I don't want to, I don't want to be distracted by people walking around and stuff. So I I should close my eyes. But I think sometimes I just want to open my eyes and give thanks and glory to God while looking at how amazing the nature is in that area. So that is something that, I noticed today that sometimes it's almost like being in New York. In New York, you can tell the difference between tourists and people who live in New York, because in Manhattan, all the people who live in Manhattan who are New Yorkers, they all look down. And all the tourists are like looking up in awe of all the buildings and just like, wow, this place is amazing kind of thing, right? So that is something that I looked at. I was like, yeah, that's something that we really, really have to, sometimes you can't appreciate it because you're just there for so long. But it was interesting. I've been here for almost a month now. Like Sunday would be another month for me. And Sunday would be my first month, but it'd be awesome. It's like I just kind of sometimes got to take a look up and see how amazing and awesome God's creation is. But it's something that I don't want to forget that feeling of just being in awe of the nature here, right? So either way, very, very happy and excited. And I'm super excited because this week, Pastor Bumsuck's cafe, specialty cafe coffee is opening. So it was supposed to be today, but I guess it's tomorrow or the day after. I'm not sure yet, but I'm super excited about it. All right. Either way. So hope you guys are enjoying your week. It is a wonderful Thursday. We have QNA Thursday next. So before we get into that, let's get into the first music break of the day.
When I look at you, it's like I got the whole room on the tip of my finger, and I'm pointing it right back to you. When I look at you, it's like I got the whole universe, the whole universe. Never thought that living could be easy, so you taught me right from wrong. Now I'm free to be full of love, full of hope. I'm empty of all things. Now I'm living to make everyone come follow me. the west, I'll follow behind you step by step. Just like the stars above, we shining, shining. Look at the world, in my hands the universe is mine. It's yours, can't escape from the love, it's yours. It's yours, can't escape from the love, it's yours. Just like the stars above, we shining, shining. Look at the world, in my hands the universe is mine. It's yours, can't escape from the love, it's yours. It's yours, can't escape from the love, it's yours. When I look at you, it's like I got the whole room on the tip of my finger, and I'm pointing it right back to you. When I look at you, it's like I got the whole universe, the whole universe. You said believe in me, don't change, and then you'll see a life that lasts for all eternity. That will never live to have any regrets. I know you're the best, I'll step to the west, I'll follow behind you step by step. Just like the stars above, we shining, shining. Look at the world, in my hands the universe is mine. It's yours, can't escape from the love, it's yours. It's yours, can't escape from the love, it's yours. Just like the stars above, we shining, shining. Look at the world, in my hands the universe is mine. It's yours, can't escape from the love, it's yours. It's yours, can't escape from the love, it's yours. When I look at you, it's like I got the whole room on the tip of my finger, and I'm pointing it right back to you. When I look at you, it's like I got the whole universe, 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 the whole universe.
All right, so let's get into today's Q&A Thursday, and a lot to talk about, even though it's only one question. All right, so Q&A Thursday, this is one question. It's kind of like a 3-step question. It's really good. It says, I have a question for you about the number 666 mentioned in the Bible. There have been many speculations or teachings about this in the former faith that kind of drives fear in many people. One of the recent ones was about the COVID mRNA vaccination, which my former faith sister warned me against taking. Previously, I heard also about President Obama, and he could be that 666 powerful man against God. Now that I've gone through Providence teaching, I believe there should be a better and more logical explanation about this verse in the book of Revelation. Could you please enlighten me? Okay. And she referenced Revelation chapter 13, verse 18, which is the verse that does talk about 666. Okay, so in Revelation chapter 13, it talks about the beast right, the dragon, the beast out of the sea, and the beast out of the earth. Okay, and it says that, like from verse 13, it says that the beast will perform great signs, causing fire to come down from heaven to the earth in full view of the people, and because of the signs, it was given power to perform on behalf of the first beast. It deceived the inhabitants of the earth. It ordered them to set up an image in honor of the beast who was wounded by the sword and yet lived. The second beast was given power to give breath to the image of the first beast so that the image could speak and cause all who refused to worship the image to be killed. It also forced all people, great and small, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hands or on their foreheads, so that they could not buy or sell unless they had the mark, which is the name of the beast or the number of its name. This calls for wisdom. Let the person who has insight calculate the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man. That number is 666. Okay, so when you get into this, the first thing we need to understand here is in Revelations chapter in 13, it does talk about kind of the beast, or as we'll know, a lot of people talk about this great man of power, an antichrist figure, like the antichrist figure, right? So there's one thing we need to get into. But also we need to understand in the book of Revelations, where does this 666, there's another place where 666 comes from. And when you search the Bible, you're going to be like, wait, it doesn't happen. Where else can I find 666? There is one more spot, right? And I think people are going to be kind of confused, like, what do you mean? There is. It's in Revelation chapter 9. Okay. And Revelation chapter 9 also brings up 666, but it also brings up the Armageddon, right? The Armageddon is the final battle, the Armageddon, the end of the world, the last battle kind of thing, right? And in Revelation chapter 9, verses 13 through 18, it says, the sixth angel sounded his trumpet, and I heard a voice coming from the horns of the golden altar that is before God. It said to the sixth angel who had the trumpet, release the four angels who are bound at the great river Euphrates. And the four angels who had been kept ready for this very hour, day, month, and year were released to kill a third of mankind. The number of the mounted troops was 200 million. I heard their number. The horses and riders I saw in my vision looked like this. Their breastplates were fiery red, dark blue, and yellow as sulfur. The heads of the horses resembled the heads of lions, and out of their mouths came fire, smoke, and sulfur. A third of mankind was killed by the three plagues of fire, smoke, and sulfur that came out of their mouths, right? So where does 666 come out of this in the first place, right? So a lot, people are going to be a little bit confused, like, I don't see 666 in this, right? But it's something you need to calculate. That's why the original verse that was brought up from the question is, this calls for wisdom. Let the person who has insight calculate the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man. The number is 666, okay? So let's calculate it. So in this story, it does talk about the Armageddon. And a lot of people look at this and they say that it means that a third of the world will die, right? Like a third of the world, which if we're at 8 billion right now, a third of the world is almost 3 billion. It's like 2.6 billion, 2.7 billion, whatever it is, right? That's a crazy amount of people. Now, what Sunseam said is, well, it's not really talking about the entire world that's going to die, but it has to do with the 200 million mounted soldiers, which means that this is talking about World War III, right? It's talking about when the next battle happens, what does it mean if a third of the people will die? It's not talking about the entire world. It's talking about a third of the fighting soldiers that will die. And that's kind of usually the case that happens in most battles, is most of the people that die are usually the people that are soldiers. So what this means is if at the Armageddon, that final, like say like a World War III or something that's going to be this big Armageddon battle, God has set a cap for the number of people that can die. And what's the number? Well, it's a third of 200 million. So why is this third of 200 million such an important thing? Because when you look at a third of 200 million, the number is 666666666. It is actually Satan's number. It is the threefold six. Now, remember, the threefold six, which we already read in Revelation chapter 13, verse 18, is the number of the beast, as we saw in Revelation 13. It's the number of Satan, as we know, but it's also the number of man. Now, how is 666 also the number of man? Easy. Because at the very beginning, human beings were together with God. They were complete. They were not sinful. They did not commit the fall. So they were with God, 777. But once they committed the fall, they dropped from 7 to 6, right? 7 symbolizes completeness, the fullness of God. The number 6 is associated with evil, falling one short of completeness. So when you have 3 is a number of is a completion number too. So 3 6 it basically is saying that it is completely evil, which is the beast, Satan, and mankind. And this is why people might think to themselves, is like, well, if we're completely evil, then how can we be saved? And that's why we need a Messiah. The Messiah comes to bring salvation. This is how we reach 7 again, right? So when you now go back to Revelation chapter 13, verses 16 through 18, it says, it talks about the mark of the beast will be given to people. It'll be on their foreheads or their hands. Okay? So, and then it says that in verse 17, people of God and people of, what does it mean? Like they cannot buy and sell. Okay, so let's first get into the mark of the beast. So I have done a video on this on my YouTube channel, but the mark of the beast, this reference of the forehead and the hands is actually already in the Old Testament. The forehead, like if you look in like Deuteronomy chapter 11, verse 18, that shows one too. It says, "You shall therefore lay up these words of mine in your heart and in your soul, and you shall bind them as a sign on your hand, and they shall be as marked between your eyes on your forehead." Right? So even in the Old Testament, very interestingly, God says you have to bind the words of God on your hand and your forehead, right? Forehead symbolizes the brain. It symbolizes your thoughts, and your hand is what you do work with, which symbolizes your actions. So whenever we hear the mark of something, where even the words of God are supposed to be bound to your forehead and your hands, which means it should be your thoughts and your actions, which in the same way too, we have to realize that the mark of the beast, if it's on your forehead and your hands, it basically means that people who have the mark of 666 on their forehead and their hands are those that have the thoughts of Satan and have the actions of Satan. And that makes sense too, right? Can any, like, in Christianity, they say that if you have a barcode or what this person wrote was like, some people say it's the COVID, the vaccine, the mRNA. And the real answer to this is, can something physical make you spiritually go to hell? Does that affect your faith? And the answer is absolutely not. Because if you think about it, imagine you get the vaccine as a baby. You had no choice. Does that mean without any choice, you had a vaccine as a baby and now you're guaranteed to go to hell even if you believe in Jesus and love him with all your heart? Makes absolutely zero sense, right? The binding on the forehead and the hands is talking about the thoughts and the actions. Now, verse 17 talks about you cannot buy or sell, right? What does that mean? Those who have the mark of the beast on their forehead and their hands, which means they have the thoughts and the actions of Satan, what does it actually mean? It means that the people of God and the people of Satan cannot exchange their thoughts and behaviors, but they fight against each other spiritually and physically. So that's what it means to not buy and sell. It's about the people of God and the people of Satan. They cannot exchange thoughts. They cannot they cannot put up with each other's behaviors, but instead they begin to fight. So it's talking about a war that's going to happen, which is both physical and spiritual, right? So it's almost like, think about it like this way. What's a great example of having the mark of the beast on the forehead and the hands and not being able to buy and sell or exchange thoughts and acts or behaviors with the people of God? 2,000 years ago, what happened? Judaism rejected Jesus and his followers, treating and calling them heretics because they proclaimed and acted on different beliefs. So they fought physically and spiritually with what? With their thoughts, with the doctrine, and physically speaking too, they were killed, right? So we see that there is that exchange that happened there. But of course, once again, from Revelation chapter 9, we see that there is a limitation on the number of the dead, which is 666, right? Which is a third, right? So the whole, like this Armageddon is not talking about the whole world, but only those who participate in the war or those in warring areas. What does that mean? Like, for instance, there are, some people who die because they're in the war zone, right? And they're not a soldier. So that actually does happen too, right? And the war is not going to destroy everything. There's always going to be a limit that it reaches. Basically, the war is going to quit itself, right? So whenever you look at any war, whether it's the Cold War, communism, democracy, whatever it is, no matter how much you try to kill each other, there comes a point when you realize you're just hurting yourselves more, right, by fighting like this. So that's why they have like peace treaties and pacts and stuff like that, and they try to compromise from it, right? So this is where that comes in. Now, that brings us to the next point is this person wrote in the email about possibly President Obama being the person of power. And of course, we know that as we teach about the Antichrist, like the great Antichrist, is not a physical human being. So you can find this in the book of 1 John. So in the book of 1 John, chapter 2, verse 18, it actually says that, this is written 2,000 years ago, that many antichrists have already come. So Even John, Apostle John is saying, guess what? Already many antichrists have already come, right? So it's already happened. 1 John chapter 2, verse 22 and chapter 1, verse 7 also talks about what the definition of an antichrist is: anyone who denies Jesus is the Christ. So if you think about that, it's including a lot of people in the world today. But, so who is this man of lawlessness? Like, who is this great man of power? It's not literally a man, because in 1 John chapter 4, verse 3 says what? It says, it talks about the spirit of the Antichrist. The spirit of the Antichrist is obviously Satan, right? So the great person of power is actually Satan. So when you think about it technically, anyone who is against Christ is an Antichrist. That's the definition of the name. So is there a big Antichrist that will come and lead the whole world astray? And the answer is not a single human being. The only single being that is ruling the world right now in that way is actually Satan. And he can do it because he is spirit. Most people are not going to follow one man. How do I know? Just even look at how the world is today. Look at even the most popular and controversial people today, like a Trump. His supporters are 50%. If you look at the approval rating of someone like Barack Obama, even today, it's at like 53%, right? You're not going to have everyone following one human being, right? So human beings are all going to, they're like, these great leaders are always going to be about half and half, right? And that's actually considered good. Like Obama being at 53% is actually considered pretty good. But it is Satan that rules. Satan rules the thoughts and actions. So when someone is against God and Jesus, they are automatically an antichrist. And who rules them? It's Satan. So think about it. All the people in the world right now that are against Jesus, against God, against Christianity, they are all ruled by Satan, right? They have the mark of the beast in their on their hands and their foreheads, right? And that's why we can look at that and say, that's, that is that great man of power kind of thing, right? So that's something that's, this is how we understand it, and it's way, way more reasonable than what a lot of people try to do. And as a person wrote in the Q&A, there's a lot of people try to do fear mongering, make people scared, but it's not a literal translation for it. So I hope that kind of gives you a better idea of what that actually means. So if you have any more questions about it, you guys can go ahead, write in the comments, or you can write to me by email or whatever it is also. Okay, so yeah, it was one question, but a very healthy question. So it took a while to explain, but that is the Q&A Thursday for today. Hope it's something that you guys really enjoyed and something that you guys can gain a lot of knowledge from too. Okay, so that is the Q&A Thursday. Let's move into the last music break of the day.
Please don't let me down, Lord. I know I can trust you with all my heart. So I'm on my knees, praying for you to always come through. Even if I pray all night, all I want is for your will be done. So I'm on my knees, praying for you to always come through. No, I'm not slipping through. No, I'm not falling down. The only thing that's falling is my knees on the floor. I'm praying, Lord, will you give me strength? Lord, will you give me power? I can't do this myself, so bless me in the morning hours. All the demons test me, but they will never shake me. If I pray, they hate me. If I pray, you love me. Connected with you is the only thing that matters. And honestly, I couldn't be happier while I'm praying on my knees. I trust you with all my heart. For you always come through. For myself, for my family, for myself alone I pray. Please don't let me down, Lord. I know I can trust you with all my heart. So I'm on my knees, praying for you to always come through. Even if I always come through.
I pray to never just settle for good when great is available. Who's the mastermind behind this mind? I give all the credit to God, that's why I'm back. They mad that I made it, I know that the Satans, they hate it. I keep working hard just to make progress. Now I'm on 10, trust the process, ayy. Look at my efforts lately, I'm setting conditions daily. I'm praying on my knees, so bless me. Please bless me, please bless me. Tribulations always come and go, I will never stop, just always know your focus determines reality, stay solid, that's why I'm
Praying on my knees, I trust you with all my heart, for you to always come through. For myself, for my family, on myself alone I pray. Please don't let me down, Lord. I know I can trust you with all my heart, so I'm on my knees praying for you to always come through. Even if I pray all night, all I want is for your will be done. So I'm on my knees praying for you to always come through.
SB.
Okay, so let's get into our final segment for today's Thursday podcast, and we have Sermons in the Sky. I hope that you guys have been enjoying these podcasts and these sermons. For me, I don't have a lot, like a big thing that I want to talk about, but I think it's more of a challenge that I want to give to everyone here, so that we can really see what we can be doing for this history. And I really wanted to focus on something I talked about maybe yesterday and today, or maybe Monday and today, and it's really about our priorities. Okay, so without further ado, let's get into today's Sermons in the Sky. So, one of the things I was thinking about and I was talking about is, where have our priorities gone? And are we really prioritizing God first above all things? We hear about this all the time. It's always about, hey, is God first in your life? Is God your number one? And I would say that the only true way to know and tell if God is really your number one priority is how you react in the most difficult times. In the most difficult times, do you revert back to your own thinking? In the most difficult times, do you ask people? In the most difficult times, are you turning to God first, or are you turning to yourself or to others? Are you turning to, I know, like when people get stressed out, they eat, or they go shopping, or they go this or that, or they start making a ton of coffee. And I think it was a really, really good measuring point last year to really take a look at ourselves and see, where was God in our life? And where was God in the top three? Is he in your top three? And if he's in the top three, is he your number one? Is he your number two? Is he your number three? Where is God? And you need to look at yourself right now, is if God is your number one, if he really is your number one, then one of the things that we'd have to look at is, how is your relationship with God? And one of the things that I see Susie talking about a lot these days is always the pre-dawn, the pre-dawn, the pre-dawn. And when you think about the pre-dawn, is it emphasized because God just wants us to suffer and not sleep? Or does God talk about the pre-dawn because that's the time that you communicate, that you cry out to God, that you pour out your heart, the time when two people draw closer to each other? Sometimes we become physical and we forget why the pre-dawn is even that great. Is it like, well, it's just prayer. I could pray at any other time of the day. Or do we really realize that is the time God is waiting for you in the quiet hour when it's not so busy? Because wouldn't you say that even if two people are married, you can't just call your husband or wife in the middle of their job and expect them to drop everything to have an hour deep, long conversation with you? It's their work time. It's busy. They can't just let things go. But even lovers look forward to the quiet time. That time they set aside where there's nothing else but focusing on each other. And I really think that's something that we have to understand. Having God as your number one is not about, oh, I went to church, God's my number one. I went to pre-dawn, God's my number one. I did this, God's my number one. It is, if God is your number one, do you feel connected? Do you feel close? Do you feel like if everything in the world faded away, but as long as you had God, you have everything? Are you there? And I think it's something that we do have to reassess ourselves and look at our hearts, reflect on ourselves. Is God my number one? Is he my everything? Is he the one that as long as I don't lose him, I have everything I need? I think that's one of these reflection points that we do have to have in our lives right now after all the chaos we went through. Have we pushed God to number 2 or 3 or even 4? And I really hope that's something that we can reflect and look at ourselves too. Let me pray. Almighty God, Holy Spirit, Holy Son, Lord Jesus, we are so grateful and thankful that you have blessed us in this history. And why is it such a blessing to be here? Because we have been permitted to become brides of God. We have been permitted to reach that ultimate level of love with God and the Holy Spirit. We have been granted permission to be brides of this time period. And what does it mean to be a bride? The bride is the one that is absolute, connected, and absolutely loving God with all of our heart, will, and life. I pray for your wisdom. I pray for your love, and I pray for a checking of our hearts, a checking of our minds, a checking of our souls, our spirits, seeing if you are really the number one in our life. And I pray that you will bless every person who is listening to today's Sermons in the Sky, that we will reflect and check ourselves absolutely also. We thank you so much for all that you've done. Bless us. And God, some of us are going through some really dark and terrible times, but I pray that at that moment, we will check ourselves to see if we hold on to you, that we will hold on to you more than anyone else. We love you so much. Guide us in all that we do. And we pray all these things in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. So grateful and thankful, guys, that you guys have joined for today's podcast. I hope you guys have enjoyed this podcast from the beginning to the end. If you have any questions or any comments you want to put in, go ahead. I would love to hear from you guys. If not, it's already Thursday. Only one more day left before the weekend comes. So everyone, enjoy your Thursday, and we'll see you guys again tomorrow on the Morning Star Drive on 117.8.
It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and feel your mind.
I'm burning with desire and the passion. Nobody can stop me when I'm like this. I got my head in the zone, I'm on the Morning Star Drive, I'm burning with cannot stop me when I'm